Hey darlings, today I have a controversial topic for you, and that is to love people. Okay, so why is that controversial? So let me back up a little bit. The other day, my pastor started a sermon series about division and how it's causing people to be mean. And at the beginning of his sermon, he's saying that he was going to make us upset. He's going to make us mad. And I was thinking, nah, that's not going to happen. I'm a pretty nice person. I'm fairly compassionate. I'll be fine. And then he goes to talk about these different divisive topics that people will feel very strongly about. And he goes, the vaccine and masks. And I'm thinking, okay, those are divisive topics, but I try to be understanding of people on both sides as long as you're not being belligerent and actively licking people while you have COVID. Okay, try. And then he goes on, Black Lives Matter and gay rights. And I'm thinking, those ones are harder for me to see the other side because I feel like human rights are not a debate. Pretty sure that if you think that black people don't matter and gay people shouldn't have rights, that one's more difficult for me to have compassion towards the other side. So I was thinking, touche, pastor, touche. You clocked it. I'm upset and uncomfortable. And so basically he's talking about how we get into these camps. And they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And there's no debating anymore that it's either or. Whereas in the old days, you might agree to disagree, or you might have a friendly debate, or you might just not talk about it. You might be like, I love you, let's not talk about politics. But instead, now we might cancel people from our lives. We're just like, oh, you believe that? Bye. And he's watched these families fall apart. And I was thinking, yes, that has definitely happened. And then with the pandemic, more people are at home, more people are having screen time, and it's easier to be mean from a screen. It's easier to be mean when you can't see someone's face while you're being mean to them. And it's just become this really really awful thing. And we should learn to love people. Just stop doing that. And I'm thinking that's a challenge to love people who think differently than we do. Because even as he brings up these topics, I'm already feeling stressed out, like literal fight or flight, whatever cascade of adrenaline and all that going off, just thinking about people who think differently. Because I'm like, especially because I am a couple minorities. I'm part black, I'm very bisexual. And so when I think about people who are just like, black lives don't matter. I'm like, it makes me, I don't really like that. I feel generally safe in my city because our police officers are fairly progressive. But if I go somewhere else, I worry that I will die. I literally see a cop and think, am I speeding? Are they going to pull me over? Am I going to die? Not a great feeling. Not good. And then I feel for all my gay alphabet mafia, all the rainbow, and all of that. And it's hard. It's very hard when there are people who actively don't think you deserve rights or you're less of a person because of who you are. Or if they think that about people that you love. Because I have friends that are trans and non-binary. There's a lot of talk about people being like, oh, people don't know what gender they are nowadays. It's a spectrum, and it's okay. And why does that concern you? And see, just that was very judgmental. It's like, why does it concern you? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So I had to really think about this, about loving people, especially people who don't seem to care about certain people. And I reminded myself, I'm like, hey, Kira, remember when you were young and you thought gay people were evil? That was a thing, because that's what I was taught. I was around not a lot of people, mostly my grandparents and my mom, and I was taught that being gay was a sin, and gay people were bad. And I just believed that because I was naive and I didn't really know any better. And then one day, a gay friend of mine came out, and I was like, You're not bad. You're cool. You're funny. You're kind. You're handsome. Like, not that that matters, but and I realized, oh, gay people are fine. But it took meeting a nice gay person for me to be like, oh, because I think that's kind of what happens is people just don't, like, they're taught something. And then the division makes it so much worse. Because if it was now, back then, and I had that belief, a gay person might have felt very angry about someone like me and might have been like, you are a bigot. You are a terrible person. You can go die in a dumpster fire. And I would be like, oh, this gay person is such an awful person. Like, yes, they're clearly a sinner. They're clearly horrible. And then I would have gotten really stuck in the trenches of that belief. But because also I do pride myself on being kind of malleable, like I do change my mind, and I am comfortable saying, I made a mistake, sorry about that, I have learned. But yeah, so I think being malleable is important, and we don't get to do that enough. But where was I going with this? Yeah, if I had been confronted by someone like that, I would have been more stuck in my beliefs. And so if we do bring kindness and understanding to each other, maybe that can help shift beliefs. Because if there's these people who are just super convinced, and then the other side is just angry and mean as well, and cutting them out of their lives, then yeah, I can see people getting really stuck in those beliefs that, gay people don't deserve rights, and black people don't, they don't matter, and there's not Asian hate, and I feel like twisting things too. I was talking about this with my partner, and he's like, well, it's not necessarily that people don't think Black lives matter, but they'll think, well, Black lives, it's fine. Like, there isn't racism. Like, or the people who are white and they're like, my life is really hard. Like, you're saying that Black people's lives are hard, but what about me? And it's not that your life isn't hard. Your life can be hard with any race. It's not more difficult because of race. And then there are I'm going on a tangent here, I'm sorry. But there are the interesting things that are happening now. Like, I have a friend that's just regular white dude, and people will get on him. They're like, you're just a cis-het white male, and what do you know? And they're very, like, belligerent towards him because he's very, very, very outspoken. And I want to be like, dude, just maybe chillax a little. But he gets a lot of pushback for being a person of privilege. So it's interesting. It's interesting and it's messy. Anyway, where am I going with this? This is extra rambly today. Trying to love people that think differently than you do is good and hard. And I think the more difficult part about that is if there are people in your lives that believe differently that are very toxic, especially if you are something they hate or that they don't believe in. If you're non-binary or gay or trans or anything like that, and they think, oh, it's only men and women, and they don't believe in that stuff, that can be hard, that can be draining, that can be so tiring to have people not want to or not be willing to acknowledge who you are as a person. And so in that case, I say love them from a distance. Or if there are people who are actively racist or actively against people you love, yeah, love them from a distance. This isn't saying hang out with people who are abusive and toxic towards you. But please just don't add to the hate. I know it's hard, especially if people don't like you because of who you are. But if there is some way that we can just at least not spew it back to kind of take the high road, I think that would help. And to try to check ourselves and to be okay saying I was wrong. Because I was when I was younger. I didn't know better. Now I do. And just being able to acknowledge that is big, and I hope it can help other people think, oh, it's okay to change my mind. So I'm done now. I'm making food and it smells kind of burnt. And I probably should have shut it off before. So love people. Please don't be mean. Okay, bye.